Welcome to Lecture 4 of the How to Trade Forex course. In this part of the course we're going to be looking at candlesticks, what they are, how they work, how we can use them to make money, and also we'll be looking at the trading screen. And we'll take another step towards making your trading screen look like the one that I'm using. First of all, candlesticks. And as we explained in part 1 of this module, candlesticks are these strange red or green bars. So each of the bars represents a period in time. You can see on this particular chart, we're looking at a 1 hour chart, so each of these candlesticks represents an hour in time. We could change that so the time frame could be anything between 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, a day, a week, or a month. But they all look pretty much the same, and we'll see some of these others as we go along. But for the moment, we'll work with this 1 hour chart. And if you recall, we said that the red candlesticks represent an hour, in this case, a period of time where the price went down. So the price actually opened at this level, and during the course of the hour, it finished at this level. What the tails mean is that also during that period of 1 hour, the price was slightly higher, i.e. the top of this tail, and also it was lower at the bottom of this tail. So we've got 4 pieces of information there. The green candles work the other way around. So if we look at, for example, this candlestick here, the green one, the price opened here, at some point it traded as low as this, at another point it traded at the high there, the top of that wick, and the price closed here. That's generally how candlesticks actually work. So we can see that now in greater detail. So we've got a red and a green candlestick. And we can call the middle area the real body, whether it's red or green. And you'll hear these tails called different things. They can be called tails and they can be called shadows. Sometimes the word upper or lower is put in front of it so that we know which ones we're actually talking about. And therefore we get, in both cases, an opening price, a closing price, a high for the time period, and a low for the time period. So here are some in action. And we can see, where we talk about a bull market or a bull candle, it's a period where the prices are rising. A bear candle is where the price is actually falling. And you can see there's always a good mix. It's very rare to actually get more than 3 or 4 of these candlesticks of the same colour in succession. So time is moving across the screen from left to right. So as we're looking here, you can see from this area, at a 1 minute chart, we're looking at a period here of within this little group, about 5 minutes. And this is the current minute, this is the one before it, that's the one before it, and so on. And we can see again a lot of variation in the amount of movement within a single minute. What we've also got here are a couple of candlesticks where there seems to be no colour. And that's simply because the price is opened and closed at exactly the same level. So there is no scope for having a colour in there. We'll come across these later on. This special candlestick we call a doji. And in fact, there are lots of special names for different combinations of these candlesticks, and we'll see some more of those as we go forward. Here, for example, is one that's called a morning star. And that's where we've got a direction change. So we've had the candlesticks heading down, even if they're not all red, and a change in direction with a much shorter candlestick, and then they go up. There are literally dozens of these candlestick patterns. Here are some more. When you look at them, you can see that quite often there is something that you need to look very carefully for. So, for example, in this bullish engulfing candlestick pattern here, what we've got is the bull candle fully covering all of the wick and the opening and closing prices of the previous downward bear candle. And it has to be fully enclosing to be engulfing. So there are lots of things, but these are really for information, and we're not actually going to use many of them at all in our day-to-day trading. But you will hear traders talk about them, you will read articles that involve them. So let's move on and look at the trading screen. We are now going to view a short video in which I demonstrate some more of the trading screen features in real time. Let's have another look at the trading screen and try some of the features. If we start in the top left-hand corner, we can deal with, first of all, drawing lines. So already we've put into the trading system some horizontal lines. It's the same process for a vertical line. So I'm going to left-click on the vertical line sign, the top left here, and then move the mouse across. We can see I've now got a plus sign and a vertical line. If I left-click, that would be drawn in. If I then double-click on that, we can see when I do that, we get grab handles at the top and bottom, and I can then right-click on it and go to the vertical line properties. In here, I can change the color, so I can have any color I want. So, for example, we go to green. I could change the thickness of that line, make it a bit thicker, or I could even make it a dotted line, for example. In fact, if you're going to go to a dotted line or something, you've got to actually have it on the thinnest version, and then they open up, and here are the options. I don't want to do that, so I'll have it a bit thicker. If we go to the parameters, we now know in there that we can actually change the location of this line. Now, unlike a horizontal line, we've got to put a time of day and a date in. And usually what I actually do is simply move the line. I'll demonstrate that shortly. And we can also change the different time scales that this chart will show the vertical line on. At the moment, it's all of them, so I want to change that, and I'll have it on all of the time scales except the weekly and monthly ones, because they just get too crowded when you go them with so many vertical lines in place. If I press OK, we now see that that changes. And if I left-hand click on it, while it's got the grab handles in, keep the mouse button down, I can move this around. And what I tend to do is to actually delineate each of the days. So it doesn't mean much when we're in one day, but if I then go back to a minute or 4 hours and put them in on those days, it would actually make a difference. We'd see where the differences were. So I don't actually want to do that now, so I'm going to double click to get the grab handles back, and then right hand click and use the delete option to get rid of that line. Exactly the same again with a trend line. So I left hand click, I move it across, and I might want to, for example, draw a trend line along here. And we can see by moving it around, just spinning it around, we can actually change the angle of it. So it started where I first released the mouse button, and then we can move it round. And in exactly the same way, I can double click on it to get to the properties or to delete it. So that's putting lines in place. We've also already seen several of the different timescales. I can go up to a month, and it will show you there, and some of these lines that I put in previously, you can now see how they crowd together and don't mean so much. That's why I tend not to show them on monthly options, and indeed even on weekly options. So I go to weekly, I can go to daily, hourly, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and even down to 1 minute. Now across on the left hand side, this area here is actually what's called a tick symbol, and that is showing the price changes by the tick. So we're really dealing with down to a second or so there, and that's what that area is across to the left. We already know we've got a couple of buttons at the top here. We can change this to different types of charts. So we've got a bar chart, is that one. Very similar really to a candlestick chart, but a little bit more old-fashioned. The ticks at the top and bottom of these lines just indicate the opening and closing price, depending on the colour of the of the bar involved. And of course we can go back to a simple line chart, which is quite useful for being able to see trends sometimes. But 95% of the time you'll probably be on the candlesticks. And we can also increase the magnification or take it down to something that we're comfortable with through these buttons here. Now, I would suggest that you play around with some of those things, and also the various menus. So we've got a menu here where we can see we can save different layouts and properties. We've got a view, which really we're going to leave it very much as it is now. Insert indicators, that's the one we used for putting in the Bollinger Bands, but there's other things we can do with it. We don't need any of those for the type of trading that I'm going to show you, but if you want to play with them and get to know some of them, that's absolutely fine too. Again, lots of options in the charts and in the tools and in the window, and also there's a help button. Along the bottom here, we've got different options to be able to put in other currency pairs, for example. I'm not going to use that. All the trading that I'm going to show you is based on the pound-dollar. And we've also got, at the very bottom, we can see there's some options in here, so we can see at the moment we're showing the account balance. And this is a demo account, so there's £5,000 of equity in there. Click on the account history. There's nothing to be seen there. You've just got a balance. News. That'll come in useful later on. Alerts. There's a mailbox. They do send a few emails out from the trading platform, normally to tell us about opening times and special opening and closing times for public holidays. And the others I don't tend to use too much, but we might want to have a look at this one, which is market. And the market actually gives us some sales and buying opportunities. There it goes. And we can see that in there, I can move this around a bit. So I want to increase this area at the bottom. So what I'm actually doing is, I'm waiting until the cursor changes when I've got it over this line, and I'm simply dragging it up. And that changes the proportions. So I can do that. I can change it back again. So we've got some applications that are for sale in there, and we've got some magazines. Very shortly, we'll have Forex Trader magazine in here too. I've just agreed that with MetaTrader, so it will go in. Books that are for sale, all sorts of, lots of goodies in there that you might want to use. We'll go back to the trade and leave it in there. And there we have it. We now have just about everything that we need on this chart for at least the basic trading and the options that are given to us by the basic trade platform itself. Later in the training, we're going to add some special indicators, the ones that we've put together within Forex Trader magazine and courses on Forex, that will give us some special powers on trading. I probably should also point out this top left area here, where you've got buy and sell. So you've got the opportunity to change the volume. That will mean more to you in due course. I've moved it there. It's gone to 120 and go down, so back to 110, back to 1. And these two buttons, which will automatically undertake a sell or a buy trade for us if we press on them. So I'm not going to do that at the moment. That's a very quick way of buying or selling. Very useful if you are actually involved in minute-to-minute trading, but also a shortcut to use any time. And there we have it. So that's a trot through the trading screen that we're going to get to know and to use on a regular basis.